Okay, it is with great respect, Cal State LA acknowledges the Tongva people as the traditional caretakers of Tovangar, the Tongva world, including the Los Angeles Basin, South Channel Islands, San Gabriel and Pomona Valleys, and portions of Orange, San Bernardino, and Riverside counties. Cal State LA is located within these lands, and as an institution located on unceded Tongva land, we pay our respects to the ancestors, elders, and our relatives, relations, past, present, and emerging. Consistent with our values of community and diversity, we have a responsibility to acknowledge and make visible the university's relationship to Native peoples. By offering this land acknowledgement, we affirm Indigenous sovereignty and will work to hold Cal State LA more accountable to the needs of American Indian peoples. Thank you. Once again, my name is Dr. Dawn Dennis. Welcome to our big forum, our big data forum today. We celebrate our students. We have an innovative program to share. Without further ado, I would like to introduce my Dean, Pamela Scott Johnson of the College of NSS. You're on mute.
I realize when my my computer has a big sign that says you are mute, I can't be heard. But I think it's important that you hear what I have to say, not only because I'm saying it, because it is an acknowledgement of the work that you do. I am Pamela Scott Johnson. I'm the Dean of the College of Natural and Social Sciences. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. I would, however, like to pause for one brief moment to take in what an enormous job that you've done in the kind of unprecedented times that we have gone through over the last year and a half, notwithstanding COVID, notwithstanding the death and verdict of the George Floyd killing, notwithstanding the increased anti-Asian harm that has come to our community, notwithstanding the ways in which each of you have migrated your work as faculty and students, but to stand in solidarity as a community, to stand in solidarity with who we are as individuals who live on the same planet. It is also Earth Day. But to also acknowledge the tremendous ways in which we as a community have sought to engage one with the other. The mission of the college is to create change agents, individuals who are going to go out, make a difference for their communities. And in this case, Cal State LA has been quite intentional about its commitment and our commitment as faculty and staff in what we do to create that change within the greater Los Angeles region. And we say the world because we are world citizens. We are one of 33 institutions across the nation and the only public institution as an anchor institution in the coalition of urban and metropolitan universities. We're so grateful when we started this grant that our hub, the Western Data Hub, allowed us or facilitated and supported our application, as we were one of the newer kids on the block 3 years ago. So I want to thank my colleagues, Christine and Sarah and Meredith in her absence and in her new roles. This could not have been done, and you hear me say we, without my two colleagues and my partners in facilitation, because the only crime we commit is our passion and our love for our students and understanding who we are as an institution and as educators. And that would be Renee Vilanowitz and Haley Ye, and they're going to talk to you later. I want to acknowledge the work of Jessica Dennis, Jessica Boda Creed. Thank you, Renee. Please don't tell her, she's on the line, she'll kill me. But Jessica Boda Creed, who was our first project manager, and the able body and the great work that Dawn Dennis has now. I just combined the two women together with all that strength. That's a powerhouse. But I want to thank Dawn Dennis for the work that she's doing. I would be remiss without thanking our colleague, Preston Mills, for the way he's collaborated. And you'll hear our colleagues from the city, Ava and Jean and Phyllis from Community Partners, and Ravi as he's gone to another institution. We have created something that's special. We know that in order to make a difference for our communities, our institutions of higher education have to create the kind of impact that is needed and help our students develop the skills to find their own voices. I want to thank each of the faculty in the last 3 years and the last 3 cohorts for the work that you all have done. I have one request, and that is that you continue to go forward, that you integrate this great work, that you look at what you've done in the partnerships that we've created. And while the College of Natural and Social Sciences has been the holder of the grant, it was never just intended for our college alone, but it was intended for us to realize the mission of our institution in supporting the world and making a difference as a public institution and supporting the excellent educational experiences of our students. I'll stop here and just say welcome. Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, friends. Thank you, partners. Congratulations. I'm looking forward to hearing the work that you do, but so grateful for all that you've done already. Dawn?
Thank you. Our next speaker is on the way. It is the college president. So while we are getting him into the Zoom session with a little technical problems, I would like to continue with our program and introduce Ava, who is with the city of Los Angeles. Where's she at? Let me see. Ava Pereira is with the city of Los Angeles. She is very instrumental in, again, supporting our program and our students. She works very closely with Preston and the program. So we would like to hear from Ava. Thank you for showing up. Thank you so much.
Of course, of course. I'm excited to be here today and see the student presentations. I've heard a lot about some of the projects that you've been working on, and I'm excited to see what you have to present today. I'm Ava, I'm the Deputy Chief Data Officer, and I'm Preston's colleague, and excited to see him shine today. I'm so grateful for all of your efforts and your hard work. I'm really excited to be a part of this. So thank you all.
Thank you, Ava. Ava just works behind the scenes. And again, she's just one of those supportive colleagues to our students and an external partner. I would like to reintroduce our Dean, Pamela Scott Johnson, who's going to introduce our President, William Covino.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're really grateful that our president could be with us today. He's had an opportunity many years ago to have a presentation to his board about the work that we have been doing. It is really out of his initiatives and his commitment to ensure that the work we do here at Cal State LA has an impact on the public and the communities that we're from. So without further ado, I would like to introduce President William Covino. President Covino.
Good afternoon, everybody. Glad to be here. I have to confess that some years ago, this is quite a few years ago now, when big data was just starting to become a thing, I, as a longstanding humanist, expressed my complete lack of interest in big data. And I was asked why, and I said, well, it's just too big, right? I mean, I don't get it. It's too big. It seems vague. Well, since then, of course, we've all learned in every discipline, across all industries, in every major study that's been worth anything in the last decade or so, and a little earlier than that, that the big data methodology is what's giving us the most actionable information that we can get. And so I've reformed I'm now a fan, and I'm especially a fan of this project. I'm so pleased and proud that Cal State LA is providing our students with the big data experience, a big data experience that's making a difference in the future of the region that we live and work in. I mean, that's quite a an encompassing statement, but it's absolutely true. I mean, our students care about the place that they call home, and here they are with an opportunity to have a transformative impact on that, because they are mentored and methodologically adept in ways that are making a difference. So today we're celebrating the work of Cal State LA students and faculty who are using big data to help solve problems in communities across Los Angeles. Faculty who are trained in GIS technology have built lessons and designed big data projects for our students. And that project connects the students and faculty with nonprofit organizations whose work is enhanced by the involvement and the information that's yielded by the work of our students and faculty. So that's an interactive collaboration of the best kind. And it reflects the university's ethic of service. I mean, as many know, Cal State LA is committed to engagement and service for the public good. And that's precisely the trajectory of this project. Our students in general learn that the highest use of education is in the service of the collective, working to better the world. And with this project, they really do put that ethic to work. So many thanks to Dean Pamela Scott Johnson, who is indeed the force behind this project. Thanks for your leadership and your work and you've really persevered with this one and moved it forward with a great deal of confidence in its value, and you've been absolutely right. So bringing this project to fruition has been a very big deal for us. Many thanks to our students and to our faculty and all that you're doing to serve Los Angeles through this project. And a really special thank you to the City of Los Angeles for your partnership and your contributions and to our nonprofit partners. It's really a wonderful collaborative network. And I congratulate everyone from everywhere whose great work has and will make such an impact. So thank you for inviting me to be here, and I look forward to seeing this project resonate in really important ways. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your comments, President Covino. I would like to introduce our guest speaker. Her name is Dr. Christine Kirkpatrick. She is the co-executive director of the West Big Data Innovation Hub. So welcome, Dr. Kirkpatrick.
Thank you so much for having me. Can you see my slides okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and there's only a few, so I promise not to death by PowerPoint you. I know it's late in the day. Well, my name's Christine Kirkpatrick. I'm here representing the West Big Data Innovation Hub. I'm co-executive director, and if you tune in next week, you're going to hear from Sarah Stone, who I share that role with. I'm physically I'm in Southern California. I'm not at my university, right? Because it's closed at the moment. But typically, I'd be at the San Diego Supercomputer Center, which is on the UC San Diego campus. But I would like to mention that I'm from LA, that I first lived in Glendale for many years. And so I'm both proud to be associated with this project. The Hub is very proud of this project, but also just a shout out to everyone at Cal State LA. Got a big soft spot. So just real quick about what is the Hub. So on the top here, you can see the US divided into 4 census regions. So the National Science Foundation has funded this project, and it established the West Big Data Hub to serve the 13 Western US states plus Alaska and Hawaii. And the main idea to take away from this is that we exist to help build and strengthen partnerships across these different sectors. You get a lot of transfer between different academics, but it's hard to get that into government. And then you have innovations in industry and nonprofits, and it's hard to get those back into academia. And so we try to come up with programs and initiatives that help people who wouldn't normally be talking to each other do fun and interesting things. And really, I can't take credit for any of the successes that you have done. You exemplify the best of what the hubs can be and are doing. The West Hub is run out of Berkeley and University of Washington, in addition to UC San Diego. These are our priority areas. Really spans the gamut of everything that touches our daily lives. And there's some things across the bottom that help promote all of these priority areas, from everything from learning how to use cloud computing to learning how to tell science stories. And we have all sorts of different ways to become involved. During the pandemic, we've been especially hosting data challenges. So a few months ago, we had one on COVID-19 data and life at the US-Mexico border. We had another one tied to the census. We have different workshops that go on from time to time, and we also give conference scholarships. So if you were interested, for example, in fair data, last summer and this coming summer, we have a conference that you can attend and that we'll pay for you. We'll pay for you to attend that. One quick highlight, especially that an upcoming pilot with Cal State LA's community partners is our partnership with the Carpentries. So the Carpentries is this idea that there's lots of things you do with data and software that are like using a hammer, right, or a screwdriver, and that they're common skills to learn. And so we find people who'd like to be trainers and put them through the program, and then they're in their local community can hold all sorts of different trainings. We saw a real need and heard from our stakeholders that there weren't enough training materials for people working in local and state government who wanted to make better use of data, or people working with local and state government data. And so we're working with some specialists to create public access curriculum that we will hopefully partner with the community partners this fall. And most importantly, please consider going to our website and signing up for our mailing list so that we can tell you about upcoming things that are happening. If you are someone who's applying for a research grant, we can write you a letter of collaboration. Again, we give out conference scholarships. When we're back in person, we'll co-host events with you. And we also have a science writer who writes spotlights. And so if you have something that we can spotlight, please let us know. And if you go to our website, you will see some really fun stories and really impactful stories that highlight the work of Dean Scott Johnson, Haley Yee, Dr. Monk, Dr. Manley, and Cindy Chen, among others. So this is really just my honor to be here to see all of your great projects, and thank you so much for being part of the Hub. Oh, I think you're on mute, Dr. Dennis.
After I said everything, I was thanking Dr. Kirkpatrick for her fabulous presentation, but we appreciate you. Thank you. Our next speaker is Phyllis Owens, Vice President of Business Development and Strategic Partnerships for Community Partners. So welcome, Phyllis. Thank you.
Thanks, Dawn. I'd like to say congratulations to all the students, faculty, and the project leaders for all the work that you guys have done to create the products that we're about to see. And a big shout out to our partners for the last 3 years, Cal State LA and the data team at the City of Los Angeles. As Dawn said, I'm Phyllis Owens, Vice President of Business Development and Strategic Initiatives at Community Partners. which is a fiscal sponsor for many of the organizations that you worked with this semester. And we're also a civic intermediary that builds capacity with many more nonprofits through our work with county and city government departments, as well as with philanthropy. I'm really excited that another cohort of students, organization leaders, and educators have taken the leap into learning more about data resources, managing data, and visualization techniques. And I'm really looking forward to the presentations. At this point, I'm sure you've all learned how data can be collected and manipulated to tell not just one story, but many. And that being open to seeing what data is revealing to you and presenting that data in a way that's compelling is really key to creating better nonprofit programs, improving service delivery, and even advocating for the issues in the community that you care about. Data analysis, as you know, can suggest answers to some burning questions, and as you probably figured out, can raise just as many others. I really hope that this experience has made you all much more curious about continuing to gather and map data, and that you'll check out many more of the data sets that are available to you through both the city and other open data resources. For students, I really hope you'll keep nonprofits on your radar as an employment option in your future. Nonprofits need you. They need your skills, they need your passion, they need your hope. Data management is also increasingly a skill set that employers are looking for. Similarly, data management is a capacity that a lot of funders are looking for in grantees. I just heard a statistic that the prediction is that as a result of the pandemic and other factors in the coming year, 1 in 3 nonprofits is going to fail. So that data and lessons learned from it can play a really big role in long-term nonprofit sustainability. So to all the nonprofit leaders, I hope you're inspired to continue your data journey as well. And with that, I'll turn it back to Dawn.
Thank you, Phyllis. I would like to bring in Associate Dean Ye and Dr. Vilanowith. They're going to talk about the program accomplishments and the SEED scholars. So welcome, thank you. Dr. Ye. Is she on mute?
Good evening.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, this NSF supported Big Data project. The title was Big Data to Promote Community Learning and Impact has transformed how our faculty teach civic engagement courses, how our students learn technical skills through real-world problem solving, and created an innovative model of collaboration among external partners. This is the 3rd year of our program. I would like to show you all about what we have done during the last 3 years, of course, by using data and visualization here in the PowerPoint. What we have done, we have 19 faculty members from very diverse disciplines across the campus who completed their course redesign by incorporating civic engagement project using City LA open data to solve problems for local communities. We have 516 students who took these 19 courses and completed 162 projects for 69 nonprofit organizations. We have 9 sections of NSS 1001, Introductory to Higher Education courses, which introduce big data literacy to 225 freshmen. We also have 17 social equity engagement geodata scholars, SEEDs for short, completed summer internships with nonprofit organizations, and we will have more SEEDs interning this summer. I would like to congratulate your 3rd cohort of faculty and students because they are the largest cohort as shown in this graph below. Hopefully it's the best one. We will see tonight. Pressure is on. Each year, we increase the number of faculty students engaged with this project. We more than doubled our students' participation compared to the year one. Keep up great work. Now I have Dr. Vanalowith talk about the seats next. We hope you apply for the seats for the coming summer. And in the background, and you can see those are our 2019 cohort seats with their nonprofit partners. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ye. As always, fabulous. This is excellent. Dr. Vilanowitz.
Yes, thank you, everybody, and good evening. My name is Renee Vilanowitz. I'm an archaeologist in the Department of Anthropology and one of the co-PIs for this grant. And we've been working with our partners for 4 years, maybe close to 5 years now. It's amazing that these gray hairs were already there. This project gives me joy, and it's not very stressful because it involves so many quality people. And I have the easy task tonight of giving a shout out to some of our SEEDS certificate award folks and the folks that were SEEDS interns last summer. It was a difficult summer. It was a difficult year for everybody, but all the partners got together and still made a rewarding experience for our students. And what the SEEDS program is, it's the students during the summer intern with local nonprofit organizations, and they work with them on trying to build their big data capacity and visualization tools and things like that. And so for this last summer, it was virtual, but as we all know, you could still get good work done. And I'd like to give a shout out to Paulo Castro, Cindy Chen, Genesis Dominguez, and George Rodriguez, because they completed not only the summer internship program, but also took additional GIS courses. And then they were resource mentors for the NSS 1001 classes. And what that is, it's an introduction to higher education that all freshmen go through. So when you're coming to the campus for the first time and you want to give an introduction about what higher education is about, where the library is, where research opportunities are, we were able to integrate in these courses some of the grant goals. And of course, it took all our partners together to do this, but it's been a very rewarding experience. And I'm most interested in hearing the presentations today. This is why we do this work, to see the great summary that Dr. Ye did. That humbles me to see so many students affected, so many nonprofit organizations being positively impacted, and that we as a university are able to connect to the larger community. That's why the reason I'm here at the Comprehensive University of Cal State LA, and Cal State LA is my Harvard, and I hope it's yours as well. So good evening, everybody.
Thank you so much. I would like to introduce to you next our GIS tech, Jonathan Vilanowitz. He worked with our classes in the spring, and he's going to share his thoughts about working as a grad student and the impact that he has made on our students and our faculty. So Jonathan, thank you so much. You're on mute. That's okay. Everybody's on mute. Sorry.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jonathan Vilanowitz. I've been working on this big data grant since January. And since then, I've been working with all the students here and helping them find data for their projects. And it's been very exciting to see how open-ended everything is, and the students take control of everything and come up with their own topics and their own goals in their projects. So I'm pretty excited to see their presentations today, and I'd like to thank everyone for attending. Yeah, so I didn't know I'd be talking about about how I've been working as a grad student, but yeah, I'm also a grad student at Cal State LA, and I found it a great way to kind of work on my own GIS skills through working and practicing with the students. Just kind of honed my own GIS skills there. So I'm excited. I'm thankful for that. And I'm excited about today and excited to see the presentation. So on that, I'd like to hand it back to Dr. Dennis. And good luck to everyone presenting. Thanks. Oh, I think you're on mute now, Dr.
This is horrible, this muteness. I'm so sorry. Okay, we're going to start our student presentations right now. Before we do that, I want to launch our second poll. Just do a check-in for me, and then that will give at least 30 seconds for the students and the professor to set up what they need to do. So I'm going to launch the poll. Let's do it for like a minute. If you need to take a break, walk away, do something, come back. We're still here, okay? So here we go. Can everybody see that, right? Okay. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to start with Dr. Lee. You want? Just another 30 seconds. Thank you so much for taking our poll. It's just important that we capture this data too. Okay, just a couple more seconds. Thank you for being so patient while we take this poll. Okay, I'm going to end this now, and we're going to go ahead and introduce, let me just get this out of the way. We're going to introduce our first student presentation. This is from Dr. Lee's class in business, the School of Business, Business 4150, Contemporary Issues in Global Business. So thank you, Dr. Lee. Thank you for your students too. You have the floor, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Yuan Li. I'm from the marketing department. Today, two groups of my students are presenting. The first group, I believe, is led by Brian. They will discuss the differences inside and outside the Slate Z area, which is also known for the LA public transit area. The government has been having the mission to use public transit to boost the economic development along the transit line. However, we're not sure whether that's successful or not, and Brian's team will inform us with the various data they have and how successful the government plan has been so far and potentially what area of improvement that we can have. My second team was led by Timothy. Their team has also done, in my understanding, a groundbreaking work to map the innovation ecosystems in Southern California. So everyone knows California being innovative assets because of Silicon Valley. But Southern California also shows definitely potential with so many research institutions and incubators and accelerators building up. Investors haven't been finding difficulties to locate these resources, this very useful, very potential of a lot of contribution to the economic development, but they haven't been able to visualize those resources and opportunities. So hopefully we'll have some information and takeaway from these groups. And I thank again for everyone here to support us. And especially, I really love my students. They are very young, very active. And I feel very grateful that I have them. Maybe I have my first team. I think I saw Brian. Just see whether Brian can show your image or face. Yes, I can see you.
Yeah, I'm here, Professor.
Yes, thank you, Brian.
Okay, Noel, can you start streaming for us, please? Thank you. All right, everyone. As Professor Lee stated, we will be analyzing factors that affect business growth within the Slate Z area of Los Angeles. And these factors come from PESEL analysis, which are analyzation of external factors which can affect business, starting with my factor, which is sales tax. Sales tax is an economic factor. That's something that the governments, whether it's local, state, or federal, impose on businesses within the area. And basically, the higher the sales tax, the higher prices are going to be within that area because you have to charge more to make more money off of sales tax. And as you can see here, the first dot in this area within the Slate Z boundaries is 9.5%. That's almost 10% off of every purchase made that the business is losing money. And that is a large, substantial number. But if you go to the right there, 8.75, that's lower. That's around almost 1% lower. So as we can see, most of the dots within the slate Z area are of that same 9.5 color, meaning that businesses are losing almost 10% of their every sales purchase made there to the sales tax, meaning that it might be more advisable for businesses to open up outside of the slate Z area where the dots are lighter in color. As we see, the dot is highlighted, 8.75 is lower. And well, we'll move on to the next part.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yun Hang. Today, our group would like to talk about how income inequality affects business. When we think about income, it is E in pestle analysis. In American society, income inequality has a big impact on business. As we can see from the map, the average income in slate Z area is $29,561, while the average income in the Beverly Hills neighborhood is $80,723. So if enterprises want to gain higher profits, they need to consider investing in area with higher average income to achieve higher returns. Due to the lower average income in slate Z area, business can consider opening in Beverly Hills or other areas with a higher average income for higher profits. Thank you. Please move to the next.
Hi, my name is Yesenia, and I'll be talking about COVID-19 and how it has been impacted job losses. Now, job losses fall under the economic category for pest analysis, and the pandemic and economic fallout has been widespread. Many people are unemployed and are looking for jobs. Now, if you look on our map there, you see the neighborhood in Exposition Park, how the total job losses have been, the changes have been negative 2,205. Now, we do think that this is a perfect opportunity for new business ventures, which will also help the economy by creating new job opportunities. And now I pass it down to Noe.
Hello, my name is Noe Jimenez, and I'm in charge of talking about how crime rates affect business growth in the slate Z area. So crime has psychological consequences on individuals, and it can lead to decreased desire to work and dissatisfaction in both company owners and workers. Crime events have an effect on people's economies, and most businesses will close or relocate to a safer location, resulting in monetary losses for the geographical region, as well as the owners of businesses residing in the impacted area. There are a lot of crimes in the slate Z area, as you can see, and according to the data I chose to use, surprisingly, most of these offenses are small felonies that have little bearing on business development, since they include stealing of car batteries, stolen vehicles, and attempted robberies, as you can see on this dot. Comparing that to crimes outside of the slate Z area, this is far worse than the ones that occur inside. As you can see, assault with deadly weapon and aggravated assault. So in my conclusion, I think it is healthy for businesses to thrive in an area like slate Z, because most crimes that occur in the area do not specifically impact businesses.
As we've seen from all the different 4 factors, 2 of us say that yes, it is wise for businesses to take advantage of situations affecting the slate Z area, while the other 2 say that it might be best to open up in different areas. And this is kind of the weighing of options that businesses have to undertake when they want to open up a business, whether they care more about sales tax percentage or household incomes, or when it comes to COVID-19 job losses, to take advantage of the large supply of labor that is available. These are the choices that businesses have to make. It's not gray, it's not black and white, it is very gray, where businesses really have to perform really deep analysis to figure out whether they should open or not. And with that, I want to thank everyone for their time and have a good evening.
Thank you, Brian's team. And particularly, I want to add is that we know that 2 factors at least is undecisive, the income and also job losses. We still need to explore more, but at least for the government implications, policy implications, we know the government has to do the sales tax. and can encourage business to open in there, and also the crime rate is and thank you again for group one. Let us welcome the team of Timothy.
Hi, thank you for the kind introduction, Professor Lee. Give me 1 second as I go ahead and share my screen here with you guys. All right, hoping everyone can hear me well and see my mapping innovation assets page story maps.
This is great.
Perfect, awesome. All right, again, thank you again for the introduction, Professor Lee. In consideration of time, I would like to introduce Brian, who will begin his analysis of his focus asset types.
I'll be covering event coordinator and partner organization in our map. They both share similar data points as their functionality requires each other due to the idea of collaboration. The facilities used to host these events are concentrated in Los Angeles, San Diego, Fresno, and San Francisco. Majority of the facilities are in Los Angeles, Pasadena, Long Beach, and Santa Ana. However, there is some deviations as convention centers and startup programs reside in Santa Monica and San Jose. Other cities lack this variation as the points are relatively close. Convention centers should be near populated cities for a competitive advantage in advertising exposure. Thank you. Edwin will be presenting his asset types next.
My name is Edwin, and I will go over local government agencies and wet labs. Most government agencies have been clustered in the downtown LA area, Glendale, and along the shorelines of Long Beach. Due to lack of external government agencies in the downtown LA area, it is assumed that proper channels of formality would be commonly conducted through the LA city government and therefore result in a less clustered map. In terms of wet lab assets, a pattern of clustering seems to focus on the Pasadena area and along the neighborhood of the Santa Monica region. While acknowledging small pockets of innovation in Torrance, Riverside, Chatsworth, and Pomona. I am now going to have Harmony speak on incubators and accelerators.
Hi, everyone. So the organizations presented here are the business accelerators that support startup companies in a collaborative environment, helping entrepreneurs grow their businesses. We can note that there's some density within the Santa Monica region, and the findings suggest that the introduction of such programs can have a general effect on the stability of the regions in which they locate and offer a role of accelerator programs in motivating potential regional interest in entrepreneurial activity outside of these concentrated locations, such as Los Angeles, Long Beach, Redondo Beach, etc. And this geographic clustering of entrepreneurial activity leads to wide disparities in regional economic regional economic growth. And the clustering has been attributed to factors such as labor, culture, and some knowledge. In addition, as we look into the incubators data, we can see here that there's a significance between both maps. The analysis estimates the similar clustering within the same regions, and the organizations that are concentrated in Santa Monica and Los Angeles area, but it does lack throughout the shorelines of Long Beach and Huntington Beach. Now Josh will go more in depth about institutes and co-working spaces.
Thank you very much. So based on our data, we can see that the majority of research institutes are located in states that are associated with both the CSU and UC systems. Of course, although the majority of them are located near an educational institution, a few of them aren't, and this can be attributed to the fact that they are either business networks or medical institutes. Of course, when it comes to co-working spaces, the data shows that a large number of them are clustered in states of Los Angeles, Santa Monica, and San Diego. Most likely reason for this that these states are considered both major business and commercial hubs, while also having very high operating business costs. So now I will go over and pass it on to Timothy, who will close it off for us.
Perfect, thank you, Josh. So as we move down and observe our maps in comparison to one another, there are variances in distance of points ranging from West LA all the way down with significant points of interest specifically in Santa Monica to points populating again as we move further east into the downtown LA area and again in the San Gabriel Valley before reaching its tail end in Riverside. There are also significant data points in Oceanside as we move south before reaching San Diego. And as we continue further down into the innovation ecosystem, we can observe that there is a great opportunity for collaboration amongst all asset types. So in that cluster, you can kind of see that there is plenty of opportunity there. In addition to providing these assets that opportunity to collaborate, there's also one to connect them with investors for capital funding of projects, which would, ideally would drive further innovation within Southern California. The most significant findings, though, would be within our density scale analysis, which shows that most of these asset types have the strongest concentration in Santa Monica. But because of other significant points, we say that the density scale reaches further east to Culver City and picks up in density again once we reach into the heart of downtown LA. Santa Monica shows the most potential in our data as a large concentration of our findings were located in that area because of its proximity to LAX and the concentration of technology startups. The runner-up in opportunity would be downtown LA for much collaboration and funding to occur. And San Diego is also another area to be kept in consideration. So to kind of conclude it, it's through our findings, we have discovered that Santa Monica, downtown LA, and San Diego are going to be our strongest focus areas when it comes to mapping innovation assets within Southern California. And again, we would like to thank Professor Lee for her guidance throughout the project, Jonathan and the ArcGIS team for helping us illustrate our findings, and our audience tonight for joining us on this platform and listening to our presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, TP. I think one thing I want to add is that since we see the areas here, downtown LA area, maybe because the areas have more role to play in this. And in every single class that I teach, I encourage students, whoever that has opportunity to become entrepreneur, they also have an interest to find those innovation assets. Now with this, students know where to look for their collaborators. They potentially know where to find their co-working spaces. So I hope this will generate useful information for not just the city government, but also to our students and to university policy as well. Thank you again. I'm still very excited, but I'm going to pass on this conversation to the next professor.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. We are going to move on to our next student projects. This instructor is Dr. Lee, so she will start. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So please excuse me that I cannot turn on the camera because I had really bad allergy and had rash all over my face. Yeah, so anyway, so I want to say I'm very thankful for this opportunity to participate in the Big Data course redesign program. And I really appreciate the efforts of Dr. Dennis, Dr. Ye, and also Preston for putting up this together and make this event possible. So my class is paired with 3 nonprofit organizations, and each nonprofit organization actually came up with several questions they want to address, and the students chose what questions they're most interested in working on. Okay, so I think the process is very rewarding. So the students learned how to use ArcGIS, and also they get to more informed about there's so much available data they can use to address the problem facing their community. Yeah. Actually the students studied really well, but due to the time limit, I only select one group for each nonprofit organization to present today. Okay, so the first group will look into the preschools of LA County. So their goal is to identify some preschools that are potentially can expose children to dangerous pollutants. Okay. Our second group focus on the status of minority group in the STEM program. Okay, so the goal is to seeking solutions to promote participation of minority group in the STEM program. And the last group focus on the early child development. So they want to examine factors that could have an impact on different domains in children's early development. Okay, so that's just a preview of all the 3 groups. So now I will hand over the time to my students to present. So Brittany, can you start first?
Yes, Pete, do you mind sharing your screen?
Sure. Can everyone see this?
Yeah.
So our the title of our story map is Asthma Alley, California. We're looking at particulate matter endangering children in Los Angeles. We're actually looking at particle pollution and how it might be impacting local preschools in Los Angeles.
So to start off, particulate matter, or PM 2.5, causes health problems such as chronic respiratory diseases to premature death. Worldwide in 2018, particulate matter was responsible for 8 million deaths. This means that globally it was responsible for about 1 in 5 deaths. The nonprofit organization we worked with is California Safe Schools. Their mission is to enhance the health safety of children not protected under the K-12 legislation. This legislation states that kindergarten through 12th grade students are protected from harmful air emission, but it does not include the protection for early education. So with this in mind, for our objective, we examine particulate matter in the LA County and the effect it has on early education. We believe our analysis can help improve the health and safety policies for these children.
So this part, we talk about what particulate matter is. Basically, particulate matter consists of hazardous solid and liquid particles like dust, smoke, metals, organic chemicals, and allergens. For our analysis, we're looking primarily at PM 2.5. PM 2.5 is a byproduct of fossil fuel combustion formed by reaction to chemicals in the atmosphere. So these chemicals include sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides emitted by power plants, industrial facilities, and automobiles. PM varies in size and shape and can travel for hundreds of miles. How particulate matter affects the body. So what happens is that when you breathe it in, it can lead to infections in the lungs, flu, pneumonia, bronchitis. It can exacerbate any respiratory illnesses you might have, like asthma, bronchitis. And PM 2.5 is especially harmful because once it enters into the lungs, it can diffuse through the lung walls and actually enter into the bloodstream, where it can travel to other organs and lead to a cascade of other health problems, especially if you're pregnant. So you'll see preterm deliveries, low birth weight, and other issues. Children are especially vulnerable because they take in more air per unit of body weight than adults. They're more physically active than adults. And because they're developing, some of the effects that you'll see in children can last over their lifetime, especially in terms of cognitive behavioral issues, learning disabilities, prolonged physical impairment, and you'll see higher school absenteeism and decreased earning potential as well. So some of the statistics here that we thought were important, LA County in 2019, LA County contained 9 of the 15 most polluted cities in the United States for PM 2.5. In LA County, 1 in 10 children are diagnosed with asthma. And childhood asthma in the South Bay region ranks the highest in the state. And children living in poverty have the highest rates of asthma. So with the maps we're going to show you, it's basically going to validate some of these statistics here. So this map shows 94 industrial facilities operating in LA County that emit harmful air pollutants. These pollutants include things like benzene, sulfur dioxide, like we mentioned earlier, and nitrogen oxides. This map separates the facilities by type, so you can see refineries, oil and gas production facilities, hydrogen plants, electricity generation facilities, and so on. So the WHO stipulates that exposure to annual mean PM 2.5 emissions above 10 micrograms per cubic meter within a 24-hour period is associated with increased health risks. So basically what that means is that when concentrations of PM 2.5 reach above 10 micrograms per cubic meter and we're exposed to over 10, there's health risks associated with that. Over the EPA says there are 12, but the difference between WHO and EPA is significant for this analysis because we're going to see later that those differences don't matter. And one thing that we wanted to mention here was that of the 16 facilities that we found, 7 of them are in this one particular area here in Wilmington. So this map shows the results of a 1 mile buffer analysis of facilities that exceed those WHO guidelines for PM 2.5. So studies suggest that living near these facilities is generally bad for your health. You're probably going to see a higher risk of cardiovascular diseases, respiratory diseases. And what's important that we wanted to mention was that of these 7 facilities here, 4 of them are refineries. So that's going to be significant going into the next map here. So this map shows varying levels of PM 2.5 emissions in this area. These labels represent average daily output of PM 2.5. So again, if the threshold is 10 and anything above 10 is dangerous, these would be dangerous. And again, the top 4 producers are the refineries that we saw earlier. This is the Marathon Refinery in Carson, 383, Phillips Refinery down here, and so on. And this map shows preschools that are located within these 1 mile buffers. So these are 11 preschools that, based on WHO guidelines, are probably at risk of developing respiratory and cardiovascular diseases. So these children are immediately at risk. Traffic's also an issue in this area because of all the freeways here. So you see the 710, the 110, and the 405. So these are not just standard freeways. These are actually some of the busiest freeways in the country. And much of the traffic on these freeways is because of the ports, the connection to ports here, Port of Long Beach and Port of LA. So these ports combined make it one of the busiest ports in the world. California Senate Bill 352 prohibits schools from being built within 500 feet of a major highway, with various exceptions. LA zoning restrictions also expand this limit to 1,000 feet. But knowing what we know about how far PM 2.5 can travel, these limits kind of seem a little arbitrary. So we mentioned earlier that there are higher asthma cases in poorer neighborhoods. So this map shows the ACS poverty index, which shows a relative poverty rate for each census block in Los Angeles. So the darker colors in this map identify neighborhoods with relatively high poverty rates. So most of these schools are located in relatively poor neighborhoods, Wilmington, Harbor City, and Long Beach. And these are the schools here, Wilmington, Harbor City, and Long Beach. You can see Wilmington Park Early Education Center. This is the Marathon Fifth Refinery that we saw on the map earlier. Josue, did you want to talk about the policy recommendations?
Okay. Hello, everybody. So we came up with 4 different policy recommendations, 4 different topics. Could you scroll up a little bit? Thank you. So starting off with healthcare, some of the first policies that we came up with were to expand asthma care development and opportunities. Second up was educate communities on proper, it keeps changing, I'm sorry. I don't know, my screen keeps, I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. I'm having technical difficulties. Could you get it, Pete, please?
Okay, sure. So we won't go through the list of policies in the interest of time. So what I'm going to do is basically the obvious solution was to reduce or eliminate fossil fuel combustion immediately, but that's like entirely, but that's not feasible. So any effort to deal with this problem is in terms of mitigation and prevention. So it requires a concerted effort by all the stakeholders involved, like governments, healthcare providers, and school and child care centers. And I guess that concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Pete. Jennifer, can you go next?
Yes, we would like to. Adeseli, do you mind?
Yep, got it.
Okay. So hello, my name is Jennifer Vega, and I'll be presenting the project Diverse Scholar STEM Awareness for Minorities alongside my fellow group member, Adeseli Garcia. So we wanted to touch upon the importance of STEM education early on, and the purpose of our project was to explore the mass majority of people attending the National Organization for the Professional Advancement of Black Chemists and Chemical Engineers, for short, we like to say NOBSHE, conference, which was the focus of our nonprofit organization, Diverse Scholar. We analyzed data from Twitter, identified travel time.
Jennifer, I think your screen does not show the correct content you're presenting.
Araceli is the one sharing. I
Oh.
think it is. It is.
Yeah, that is not scrolling down to the right part.
I see the abstract.
Yeah, it's in abstract. Yeah, okay, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. We analyzed data from Twitter, identified travel time from attendees, and compiled hashtags posted during the conference. Questions that we wanted to answer in our project were: from what part of the US did the most attendees originate? Who traveled the furthest to participate in the conference? And lastly, who are the influencers with the largest follower count? And with the use of ArcGIS, we were able to create heat maps, a travel distance map, and count maps, which helped us in answering our project questions. So the following are statistics about minorities in STEM. And just so you know, only 20% of US high school graduates are prepared for college level coursework in STEM majors. And furthermore, 40% of Black students and 37% of Latino students switch out of STEM majors before earning their degree. And these are just some of the statistics we would like to stress to you all to discuss the importance of the need for early STEM education. Let's pull down. So now, let me introduce to you all the nonprofit organization that we chose to partner with, which is Diverse Scholar. It was formed in 2012 by Dr. Alberto Roca, a former postdoc himself. This organization provides training and recruiting opportunities to increase diversity in the doctoral workforce. The Diverse Scholar program uses minoritypostdoc.org, which is a website that features and encourages events relevant to minority populations who are postdoctoral scholars. And now you may be asking, what is NOBSHE exactly? So NOBSHE is also a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to assisting minority students and professionals in STEM fields to realize their full potential in academic, professional, and entrepreneurial pursuits. And so resources such as the NOBSHE conference and Diverse Scholar both help minorities engage in pursuing careers in STEM. So I would now like to pass it on to my fellow team member, Araceli, who will continue to discuss the influence of Twitter.
Perfect. Thank you, Jennifer. So as Jennifer discussed above, the data that we analyzed for this project was Twitter data, tweet posts to be exact. So to the right are snapshots of tweets posted during the 2020 virtual NOBSHE conference. We are certain that Twitter is a very powerful and influential tool that can attract and recruit millions of minority professionals and students. Using hashtags make it easier to discover posts around specific topics because hashtags aggregate all social media content within the same hashtagging. In addition, we created 2 word clouds which provided us with the most common tweets posted during the NOBSHE conferences in 2019 and 2020. So this word cloud here is from the 2019 data. And as you can see, the most common hashtags were presenting, chemistry, research, and students, which are seen in the larger fonts. For 2020, the conference was held virtually. So most common tweets were posted during that conference were virtual, opportunities, learn, and career. So these hashtags are vital for representation because it adds a chance for conferences like NOPSHE to be discovered by new audiences. So to answer our questions, we created several maps like Jennifer stated, so I'll be starting with the heat map. So our first question was, from what part of the US did most attendees originate? So in 2019, the attendees were from the North, Central, and East region of the United States, which shows here. In 2020, due to the conference being a virtual event, the map broadens and shows new attendees from the Western region, as we can see here. In the yellowy orange parts is where most people come from. So for our second question, who traveled the furthest to participate in the conference? So based on the travel map here, 7 attendees had a drive time of 12.5 hours to the 2019 conference that was held in St. Louis. And finally, to answer our third question, so who are the influencers with the largest following count? We created a count map and highlighted the Twitter users with the largest following count. For the 2019 conference, the blue circles represent Twitter users with a count of 1,700 to 8,500 followers. In purple, circles represent Twitter users with a count of 654 to 1,700 followers. And for 2020, there was only one blue circle right under this purple one here that represented the largest follower count, which was 90,860 followers, which belongs to an organization under the username AmerCam Society. The purple circles represent users with a follower count of 4,000 to 9,300 followers. So in conclusion, our findings help support the importance of exposing minorities to STEM. Minorities are underrepresented in fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. As the demand for qualified STEM professionals continue to rise, disengaged minorities put at risk the opportunity to engage minorities to fill these STEM positions. Resources such as NOPSHE Conference help minorities engage in pursuing careers in STEM. Twitter usage is identified as an important tool during the conference because we have seen that up to 90,000 plus followers can be reached. If more attendees continue to tweet, NOPSHE can grow its followers and assume to have a bigger roster for future conferences. One recommendation is to offer future NOPSHE conferences in a hybrid model where people can travel to the conference location or tune in into a video stream. In addition, we believe that an incentive to tweet when attending the conference will also get that many more people to use the power of Twitter and reach more minorities interested in learning about the resources available to them in order to pursue a STEM education or advance in their existing STEM careers. And that concludes our presentation. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. So we have one group left. Brian, can you go next?
Yeah, okay. So our project is going to be done on the Amani Promise Foundation, and they're a nonprofit that serves the Almani area, and what their purpose is trying to help foster educational attainment, higher educational attainment within the youth. And since my project members aren't here, one has a class and one is currently at work, I'll be playing a video of our presentation that we recorded recently.
Yeah, Brian, are you sure the video is, yeah, you may probably want to increase volume, so I cannot hear anything.
Yeah, the video's at max. If not, I could just do the presentation right now.
Hey, Burke, for my parts, I can join in. My house is currently out of power, but let me go ahead and find my notes.
Share soundbox. Oh, okay, I see it now. Wait, yeah, thank you, whoever is in the chat. Let me see if this works. Which measures a child's early development under 5 domains. The first being physical health.
Now we can hear it. You might want to restart it.
Hello guys, today we're going to investigate factors influencing early childhood development in Omani. My name is Brick, my partner's names are Cameron and Sergio. So the Omani Foundation is a nonprofit organization founded in 2012. By leveraging the community's effort, they're able to create support systems and resources for the educational benefit of students. The educational support systems and resources are measured the early development instrument, which measures a child's early development under 5 domains. The first being physical health and well-being, which measures the absence of disease or impairment, their access to adequate and appropriate nutrition, and gross fine and motor skills. Social competence measures child's needs to meet general standards of acceptance, behaviors in public places, control their behavior, and cooperate with others, and show respect to adult authority. Emotional maturity is characterized by a balance between child's curiosity about the world and their eagerness to try new experiences, and some ability to reflect on before acting. Language and cognitive development refers to their vocabulary sides and their ability to name letters and attend to component sounds within words, and also perceive, organize, and analyze information. While communication skills and general knowledge domain measures their ability to understand verbal communications with adults, children, and to verbally communicate their experiences, ideas, wishes, and feelings in a way that other people can understand. By utilizing this tool, the Omani Foundation is able to continuously improve their strategies to better assist students, and our purpose is to investigate tactics to improve early childhood development and the Cradle to College program.
So why is this important? EDI scores are used to ensure a college-ready culture. The EDI Promise Foundation shares that same value in making sure it supports children to reach their full potential. This project is important because it provides local data regarding childhood development through the kindergarten year to critical community stakeholders and policymakers. The EDI data shines light on children not on track for the 5 EDI domains. The category of not on track is broken down into 2 categories, at risk or vulnerable. Children who are found at risk score in the lowest 10th and 25th percentile of the EDI distribution. They are not in the vulnerable range, but they score lower than expected for children at that age. The vulnerable category describes children below the 10th percentile cutoff of comparison population of any of the 5 domains. The category captures children who are falling behind but have not been visibly identified previously. This group represents children for whom cost-effective universal preventative programs are likely to make a big difference.
For us to better understand the factors that are influencing early childhood development, aside from looking at the 2017 to 2018 EDI Monty results, we used ArcGIS to research data within the Los Angeles area to possibly find any correlations between the results and crime, divorce, and poverty rates in the Monty area. And aside from that, we also took a look at mental health, public guidance programs, and recreation center data.
So the first factor we investigated is poverty and how it affects students on all 5 domains. Based on this map, the underlayer is basically measuring the poverty level, measuring the population of the individuals who are under 18 that are in poverty. Darker zones represent students that are 45 to 66%, where 45 to 66% of the population is under 18 who live below the poverty. The bigger map size, the bigger flag sizes represent students that are not on track on all 5 domains. The bigger the flag, the more percentage of students or the youth that are not on track. And from this map, we can see that there's a positive correlation between poverty and students not being on track on all 5 domains. The next factor we analyzed was physical health and well-being versus public recreation centers. Based on this map, the underlayer represents students that are not on track on physical health and well-being. The higher the darker the color, the higher students that are on track on this domain. The circles represent public recreation centers, and the purple represents a 0.5 walking distance to these recreation centers. And as we can see that there is a slight positive correlation between the two, meaning that these public recreation centers can have a impact on their physical health and well-being. Next, we analyze language and cognitive development versus public guidance and tutoring programs. The small dots represent public guidance and tutoring programs, while the base layer that is red represents students that are not on track for language and cognitive development. The darker the red color, the more percentage of students within the area are not on track for this domain. And from this map, we can see that there is a positive correlation, especially right here, where we can see that if they're in closer access to these programs, there will be a lower percentage of students that are not on track on this domain.
Next, I'd like to talk about the general knowledge versus divorce rates. A high divorce rate is signified by the darker blue squares. The large orange represent more students that are not on track in the general knowledge domain. Valley Mall, Cortada, Airport neighborhoods all have a high divorce rate with about 25% of students that are not on track for this domain. Sherpa Mariposa has a low divorce rate, but 58% of students are not on track for this domain. I would focus on this neighborhood to see whether factors might affect the general knowledge domain. Next, I'd like to talk about emotional maturity versus mental health programs. The green markers are the mental health programs, and the darker purple shaded areas are half-mile walking distances, and the lighter purple shaded areas represent a 1 mile walking distance away from the mental health program. Two of the neighborhoods that are most affected are the Valley Mall and Sherpa Mariposa. We can see that these two neighborhoods are outside the affected service area of these mental health programs.
As for social competence, we found the biggest correlation with personal crime rates. So the red circles indicate the number of personal crime rates in the area, whereas the tiles indicate students that were listed as vulnerable in social competence. And what we found was that neighborhoods with 20% or more students not on track saw the highest number of personal crime incidents. And that accounted for 3 of the neighborhoods in the El Monte area. Now, before we go into our summary of our analysis, we want to say that if we had more complete data on divorce, ethnicity, and school ratings, we could potentially continue our analysis and come to a larger conclusion on what is affecting these children.
So in summary, here's a list of a few of the team's findings where correlations were evident. Students have higher physical health and well-being scores where recreation centers are available to them. The percentage of students that are not on track for the language and cognitive development domain were not within the service area of the public guidance and tutoring programs. The data also shows a slight trend connecting the divorce rate with the percentage of students not on track with general knowledge.
So since there's a positive correlation between poverty and students' vulnerability on all 5 domains, we suggest maybe implementing financial programs and job training programs for parents. Another recommendation to positively influence the physical health and well-being domain would be to implement multiple recreation centers within areas that are heavily impacted and having resources there that are attractive to students. In regards to language and cognitive development domain, our team proposes to maybe increase the amount of public guidance and tutoring programs to focus on high impacted areas with more students vulnerable under the language and cognitive development domain. For social competence, we suggest having after school programs where parents could put their children in a safe location while they're working to keep them away from the crime and to be able to socialize with other students and adults with authority.
Now that we finished conducting this big data analysis, the main takeaway we got was the importance of symbology and scale. These maps needed to be simple and easily digestible, and without that, we would have not been able to come to any meaningful conclusions. But that's the end of our presentation, and thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Excellent research. Really. We are going to move on to Dr. Beeland and his students. So please, we just got 2 more instructors to go with their excellent student projects. So Dr. Beeland.
Thank you, Dr. Dennis, and thank you to everyone for giving us this opportunity to participate in this project, the Big Data Project. It's been a rewarding experience. I've learned a lot. I think the students have learned a lot. So yeah, again, thank you. And thanks for all the support that we received throughout. It's not only is it the Big Data Project, but there's a lot of pieces to coordinate here. So bravo to everyone for pulling this together. So we worked, my class, which is Geography 4150, Perspectives on Environment. We worked with 3 nonprofits, the Wildwoods Foundation, City Plants, and LA Walks. And I guess it's a great coincidence that we're presenting here on Earth Day, because each of these projects really have, there's some relevance there for sure. And the first group that's going to be presenting is a group that worked with the Wildwoods Foundation. And recently the Wildwoods Foundation has put together this experimental anonymous plant distribution project throughout the city. And the goal is to distribute plants, particularly these are edible plants, so vegetables and fruit plants, distribute them in areas where there aren't a lot of healthy food options. And the goal is to not only get those people to plant their seedlings that they receive, but also propagate others and then send those out to friends or family and create this network throughout the city. And their project is to create this operational dashboard and a survey so they can follow these plants. That they'll discuss the components of that. The second project will be one that was developed with City Plants. And their project is it's a story map presentation, and it is developed from a report that City Plants and other partner organizations recently put together, which looks at the urban forest inequity within Los Angeles, looking at neighborhoods that lack canopy cover and trying to put together an assessment and then guidelines for how we can close that urban forest equity gap. So they'll be discussing that next. And then the final project, which was created for LA Walks, is it's titled Community Political Involvement and Access to Pedestrian Friendly Spaces. And what this group did is examine the relationship between voter turnout, voter participation in the 2020 election, and street and sidewalk conditions within neighborhoods. And they'll go into what they found through their analysis last. So without further ado, I'll ask, I believe the first group that's presenting is Oscar, Jacob, and Maria, so they can get their projects together. The second group, the presentations are given by Roberto and Brendan. And then the third group is Christine and Ivan. And before we start, I'd just like to say that there are many other students that were involved in this that worked very hard on these projects as well. And I think they should be proud of the work that they put in. Okay, so Oscar, let's see, Jacob and Maria, are you guys ready?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I think Corazon is going to be sharing her screen.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, and Corza. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I'll share the screen right now. Thank you. Can you all see it?
It's loading. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so start off by introducing myself. My name is Saida, and my group was in charge of finding demographics of LA County for obesity rates and food deserts that are highlighted in the map. Seedlings is a network of urban home gardeners that believes in sharing what we grow and connecting with each other. Seedlings sprouted from the Wildwoods Foundation Learning Garden at the Magnolia Place Family Center, where parents volunteered to maintain the garden at the preschool there. But it was more than tending the plants. It was actually a place that fostered friendships and shows of connectedness. The garden provided security and the nourishment to the body, mind, and heart. During the pandemic lockdown, we began gardening at home and sharing our materials and our resources to help others garden at home. As we like to say, planet forward. This mapping project is the illustration of an anonymous plant distribution that we did to celebrate Earth Day 2021. Plants with QR codes were left at 12 locations around Los Angeles. This map is populated with the user-generated content submitted by the people who adopted one of those plants. I'll now leave it to Maria to explain the map.
Thank you, Saida. In order to help the Seedlings Project Wildwoods Foundation determine and create the drop-off sites for the seedlings, my team and I created a dashboard consisting of 12 drop-off locations that are spanning Los Angeles. The goal was to generate drop-off sites that would accommodate a mix or combination of the following criteria: food desert regions, area with a high indication of adult and childhood obesity, LA County public schools, farmers markets, green recreational spaces, and high numbers of foot traffic. This dashboard will also become a platform for tracking the locations of the seedlings. With these criteria, the seedlings with QR codes would be distributed to individuals walking by with the hopes of initiating a Plant It Forward movement. Key features on the map include drop-off sites, which are represented by the plant icon, and handheld plots represent plant owners that are participating. Drop-off sites are placed in 6 regions. For each region, there are 2 locations, including East LA, East Hollywood, South LA, Downtown LA, West LA, and the Valley. Thank you. Oscar?
After participants pick up a seedling from a drop-off site, they can use their mobile device to scan the attached QR code. The QR code will direct participants to Survey 123, requesting them to fill out a survey. Participants can choose from 4 different written languages, including English, Spanish, traditional Chinese, and simplified Chinese. Users can then provide information regarding which city the seedling was adopted, what type of seedling was adopted, why they chose to adopt one, where they will be planting it, and if they currently have a home garden. Users may take a photo of their seedling and include themselves in the picture too. Photos submitted will be posted on the website's dashboard so other interested community members can see what others are up to. The survey's last question asks users if they would like to opt in to be a part of the next season's seedling adoption project. Ultimately, Seedlings hopes to initiate a Plant It Forward movement and create a network where people could continue to connect and share their plans to build community relationships. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys. I think this project's really exciting. Dwayne Wilson, the director of the Wildwoods Foundation, said that what the students have created here and what the plan is to generate a crowdsourced Johnny Appleseed movement where we can track where people are distributing plants and how they disperse throughout the city over time. And I'm excited to see it grow. Right now, so this flower that you see on the top right, that's we're just beta testing it now. So that's not actually one of the plants that's being used. But when plant adopters adopt a plant, the counter down here will show that it's been adopted and they filled out the survey, and then they can upload pictures. So we'll see pictures here in the top right of the plants that they've created. So anyway, yeah, I was really excited about how this came together. The students did a wonderful job. All right, so our next group is the group that worked with City Plants on closing the urban forest equity gap. Thank you, Corazon. You can unshare now. Yeah.
Okay, just. Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
I can hear you.
Hello, I'm Roberto and my partner is Brandon, and we're going to be presenting the project Closing the Los Angeles Urban Forest Canopy Equity Gap. So about the organization, City Plants is a nonprofit organization that is funded by the city of Los Angeles. Their mission is to transform Los Angeles into a more livable and sustainable city through the planting of trees. Okay, so about this project, we specifically made this story map to easily visualize their latest project, which is Los Angeles Urban Equity. And this project addresses the uneven distribution of trees around the city using the information that Dr. Vivek provided from his report. This report was created using GIS informed recommendations and assesses policy shifts that need to achieve. Policy shifts needed to achieve the mayor's Green New Deal of 50% increase in tree canopy in disadvantaged communities by 2028. So why are trees so important? They actually provide a lot of environmental benefits. They save energy, they save water, they modulate the temperature by cooling the cities and protect us from extreme heat. And importantly, also they also make the places that we live and feel more like home. So why is a lack of trees an issue, and what are the trends seen in communities with little tree coverage? So one of the main issues is that low tree canopy communities suffer a higher rates of extreme heat related illnesses and death. And a few areas that lack tree canopy coverage in Los Angeles are areas like northeastern San Fernando Valley, South and East Los Angeles. One of the common trends that we see in Los Angeles, but isn't unique to it, and it's found across the United States actually, is that affluent areas have much higher tree canopy coverage. So why do some areas have less tree equity, and how are trees and redlining connected? So to begin with, redlining arose from a set of laws in the 1930s that basically gave a locally authorized segregation policy legitimacy and legal authority. These federally backed segregation policies divided residential neighborhoods and contracted services, including provision of green space, to wealthier and wider neighborhoods, while communities that were deemed hazardous or declining were left without green spaces and other social services. And now it's on to Brendan.
Thank you, Roberto. So next, I will be discussing the remainder of the story map. So this is a map that we created using big data, and it shows the relationship between tree canopy coverage and red line neighborhoods at the census tract level of Los Angeles. The places outlined in yellow and red represent areas that were deemed by the government as definitely declining and hazardous communities, and are typically low-income immigrant communities of color. These areas experience extreme divestment, which meant that there was a lack of financial support from governments and financial institutions to invest in the well-being of these communities. I'm hearing a little bit of feedback. If someone could mute themselves, thank you. As I was saying, in this example, there is a lack of investment in green spaces. And in this map, this is represented by the lighter color scheme in the existing tree canopy percent. The map also shows tree canopy possible percent, which means that these are spaces where it would be readily available to increase tree canopy, as shown by this map. The dark green color scheme in the map indicates that investment into these communities would easily remedy this issue of tree canopy equity. So how do we close this gap? So this is a tiered model that addresses the urban forest inequity at the street level. It helps classify areas to better understand what resources each area needs to improve their tree canopy coverage. So in tier 1 regions, there is no site modification that is needed to increase tree canopy coverage. In tier 2 regions, there is minimal site modification that is needed to increase tree canopy coverage. And in tier 3 regions, there are drastic site modifications that will be needed to increase tree canopy coverage. So these are an example of the different tiers. And the case studies will show possible modifications that can be made to different tiered regions. So this is a tier 1 case study on Welland Avenue. In this example, we can see that there are readily available soil areas where trees can be planted, and also there is not much modification that is needed to plant these trees. So this is a before image of the neighborhood where trees are can readily be planted. And this is a possible look at what Welland Avenue could look like after tree canopy coverage would be increased. This is a tier 2 case study, which means that there would be minimal site modifications needed to increase tree canopy coverage. So in this example, there are really wide sidewalks. However, there are no places where the trees can, like no soil spaces for the trees to be planted. So this is just showing that there would be a little bit of modification needed to this area for tree canopy coverage to be increased. So this is a before image and then a possible after image of a tier 2 region. And then our tier 3 case study on Wilmington Boulevard, we need drastic site modifications. So in this area, we can see that it's a very commercial area with a lot of car traffic. There's also power lines, and there's not a lot of space on these sidewalks for trees to be planted. And so there would need to be a lot of drastic modifications in tier 3 regions to make increasing tree canopy coverage possible. And so this is just an after example of what could happen to this tier 3 region to increase tree canopy coverage. And so some of our recommendations that we have to the city of LA to improve or resolve this issue is to first become educated about the importance of trees, especially in a city or urban setting. For example, trees provide natural cooling and are an easy way to raise property value. Of course, the city also needs to invest into these communities, as you saw in the 3 different case studies, whether that is minimal investment or a lot of drastic modifications that these communities need. And they need to change existing infrastructure to make it easier to grow trees. And lastly, another recommendation that we have is to engage and educate the citizens and youth of these communities. For example, they could have a youth-centered urban tree corps chapter or a community garden. Next, these are just some snapshots of different neighborhoods in LA with varying tree coverage, which is helpful in depicting the diverse communities in LA. And lastly, we have a survey at the bottom of our story map where Angelenos can share their perspective on tree canopy coverage in their communities. Overall, the city of LA has a lot of potential to improve their tree canopy coverage and equity. That concludes our presentation. Thank you so much for your attention.
All right, great job, guys. Thank you, Roberta. Thank you, Brandon. Yeah, this is a really interesting project. And one thing that I've seen that's changed in urban forestry is that there's much more emphasis on community involvement and getting input from communities about where they feel like tree canopy could be increased and where it would have the most effect. And part of that would be a survey like this. So they've included the survey 1, 2, 3 at the end of this story map, which will go onto the City Plants website soon. Okay, so our last group is looking at voter turnout and the relationship between political involvement or voter participation and street conditions and sidewalk conditions. So let's see, Ivan and Christine, are you guys all set?
Yeah, we're present. Need to make sure.
Okay.
All right, make sure I got the right one. There we go. So I can, okay.
All right, so good evening, everyone. I hope you're all doing well so far. So my name's Christine.
I'm Ivan.
All right, you might have read the title and thought, how assumptuous. How does that correlate to anything? I'll redirect your attention to the quote there. Movement is life. Life is a process. Improvement of the quality of the process, you improve the quality of life itself. I'm sure everyone here has at one point walked along the streets of LA, whether for leisure or for necessity. It's definitely not safe to walk on broken, uneven pavement. That on its own can create a difficult and maybe even hazardous environment for people who have walking as their only means of transportation. So how does that correlate with voting? To that, within this project, we entertain the theory of whether or not street quality has a direct effect on voter turnout, to which we know is a very important facet for our American democracy. And I will leave the next slide to Ivan.
All right, so let's begin with the usage of the Los Angeles Times interactive map. This color-filled map displays a detailed quality distribution of both street and sidewalk quality grades. As you can see in the bottom right, with a legend, there is quite a bit of depth to just the amount of recorded conditions in LA alone, ranging from exceptional A-grade streets shown in green to the poorest F-grade streets shown in very deep and vibrant magenta. So we'll be focusing on 3 different areas within the LA area in order to observe if there are any possible correlations between 2 specific variables, street quality grades and voting turnout distributions. Let's begin with Del Rey. This map shows neighborhood boundaries and divides while also displaying heat map turnouts within the 2020 election day specifically. Now, if I were to display this little legend on the bottom left, this particular legend here does show the color legends of what the colors actually mean. However, I do want to disclaim in some particular areas, there isn't actually any voter data due to the area being either uninhabitable or public areas such as the airport down here. So if we go a little bit more in depth with Del Rey, referring back to the map with LA Times and its color-coded streets, the city of Del Rey received a very respectable B-grade average for its street quality. And the reason as to why this is being pointed out is that alongside the good street quality, there was a higher voter turnout as well within the Del Rey area. On the opposite side of the spectrum, we have Panorama City and its neighboring cities. In addition to low street quality in the area, there was also noticeably lower voter turnout, with the majority of the area showing either a maximum of 700 or 1050 election day voters, at least according to the legend. This particular highlighted section refers back to the previous slide of the poor street quality in both Panorama City and the cities surrounding it. According to the scale on the bottom right again, Panorama City has received a C- grade for its streets, and the nearby cities aren't that much better, signified with a massive sea of yellows, like saying that there is nothing above a C+ grade. Now, a third city we want to direct our attention to is Hancock Park. An interesting thing about Hancock Park residents is that despite the income for this area being quite above average, the voter turnout was actually comparatively lower than the nearby neighborhoods, as shown by the legend again. And if we were to look a little bit more in depth, taking a closer look, Hancock Park street quality comes in at an abysmal D- grade according to the LA Times scale. So this can further correlate bad street quality with voter turnout. However, it is worth mentioning that despite the higher income in Hancock Park, there appears to be no discernible correlation between an area's income and their street/sidewalk qualities, at least for now. Back to Christine.
All right, so as taken away from the data we collected, it seems that street and sidewalk quality itself is disregarded by income. Instead, it seems to have some correlational effect between poor street quality and voter turnout during the 2020 election. While it's truly difficult to account for all the voters to compare it to street quality, there must be more research in order to make a comprehensive conclusion. And we also included a little link below. It's a method to report like considerable street conditions, but it's better safe than sorry. And with that, it concludes this presentation, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you guys. Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Ivan, for that excellent presentation. Now, that's it for us. So I'll turn it back over to Dr. Dennis. Thank you, everyone, again for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Beelan. These are fascinating, very just impactful research. So thank you guys for staying with us. We have our final faculty member. So I would like to introduce Dr. Upadhyaya, okay? And she is with her students from Marketing 3950. So I would like to turn over our Zoom session to her, but thank you again for staying with us to support our students. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Dr. Dennis. And thank you everyone for staying with us throughout the presentation. My name is Dr. Shika Upadhyaya. I am with the Department of Marketing, College of Business and Economics. I am really thankful for Dr. Dennis, Preston, Jonathan, Cindy, and Dr. Ye for this opportunity and the support. And I would also like to thank my students for working hard on this project. This was not easy, and also their commitment throughout the process. So they are presenting. So we have two presentations selected for this event. They both worked with separate organizations, and they will be sharing their work. First presentation is by Stephanie Lee and Lala Dorbergusha. They are presenting their work looking at the resource restrictions and resource access related to healthcare services for individuals experiencing homelessness over the age of 55 and dealing with terminal illness. And the second project is presented by Ricardo Sanchez Espinal, and he's looking at the economic impact of COVID in Latino community. So I'll let Stephanie and Lala take over from here.
Hi, Lala, do you want to share the story map? Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephanie Lee, and I'm here with my partner, Lala Durbagosian, and we're going to be presenting our Hospice for Individuals Experiencing Homelessness project. So as any of us can guess, living on the street is difficult enough, but who here could imagine having to deal with homelessness in combination with battling a terminal illness? So for this project, we focused on an age demographic of 55 years and older. In Los Angeles alone, the population of individuals in this age demographic account for 24% of the total homeless population. And then of this 24% of 55 and older, 42% of those individuals are African American and 26% are Hispanic. Since 2019, homelessness among older adults has increased by 24%. And what we found to be the most common factors in adults experiencing homelessness were economic hardships like evictions or unemployment, health disabilities involving either mental or physical illness, drug use, or even a combination of two or more. So also the lack or absence of a support system, such as not many friends or family, or even household conflicts like separations, for example. For the whole duration of this project, we partnered with Michael Coach from the Caring Connection. The Caring Connection is a local nonprofit organization that provides a path to ensure that this vulnerable and diverse population gets access to quality and compassionate hospice care at the end of life stage. A few things from the incredible list of goals that the Caring Connection sets out to accomplish are: one, they attempt to establish a housing network for the homeless population by leveraging existing inventory of beds. 2, they partner with participating hospice organizations to provide the full scope of hospice services. And then 3, they tackle inequities by training their workforce with the knowledge, skills, and support to meet physical, psychological, spiritual, and social needs of homeless individuals as they approach end of life. And our partnership with the Caring Connection is what led us to find out what the age and geographic distribution of homeless individuals existed in Los Angeles. And we also set out to find what types of healthcare resources are available in areas with dense homeless populations.
Here we have our map that we have created using ArcGIS Los Angeles GeoHub. The top map is showing the density of homelessness population in Los Angeles. The darker the purple gets, the denser the population. As you can see, the most dense population are near downtown LA. Then we will bring your attention to the map on the back with orange bubbles. Okay. These are hospices that can offer care to our homeless population. As you can see, we are in urgent need of more hospices in the area with dense population. Our research tells us that we have the following options for policy impacts. The first policy impact is taking care of homeless individuals aged 55 and older that are already in the healthcare system. The first step or point of contact will be in the ER. The ER doctor will make the necessary hospice or curative care referrals. This can cut ER costs and provide a discharge plan. By doing this, there is also a benefit for health insurance policies that cover these individuals. The second policy impact would be the next step in care for the individuals. Social workers accompanied with skilled nurses, or also known as orange coats, can meet with patients in untraditional settings, including tents, vans, and shelters to help determine the necessary help that these individuals need. I hope that we were able to give you all a better understanding of the situation regarding hospice for homeless individuals, and we appreciate this opportunity to become familiar with the Los Angeles GeoHub database. We both intend on applying for the Social Equity Engagement GeoData Scholar Program for summer, and we look forward to being able to do more projects like this, one to help make an impact in our communities. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you, Lala, for sharing your work. Our second presenter from my course is Ricardo, and Ricardo will be talking about his research in collaboration with CABC, is California Asset-Based Coalition. Ricardo.
Hello, everyone. Could everyone see my screen okay? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, so Latinos account for 38.9% of the California population, and 1 in 10 workers in California is undocumented. Throughout this pandemic, we know that some of the most important workers were the employees at a grocery store, the undocumented immigrants in the meat packaging industry, and the farmers picking our food. Yet these very same people that kept us from starving were the ones that exposing themselves to a deadly virus without coverage in case they got sick, nor insurance to cover their expenses. In December, the LA Times put out an article titled, "In Alarming Shifts, Latinos Getting Coronavirus Are More Than Double the Rates of Whites in LA County." The state website shows that although Latinos make 38.9% of the population in California, they account for 55.6% of the positive COVID cases and 46.5% deaths due to COVID. The focus of this project is to understand the impact of COVID-19 in the Latino community and undocumented community in California, primarily focusing in LA County. The community partner for this was the California Asset Building Coalition. CABC is the statewide network of diverse organizations joined together to advance statewide policies and programs that help Californians to save, build assets, and achieve economic mobility. Andrea Laqueta, the managing director, provided support throughout the research process. Now, let me share two stories that are relatable to many people in the community. A friend who works at a meat packaging industry saw the influx of workers as the demand for these goods were high, employees suffering trying to make ends meet when they got sick, and saw friends get laid off when the demand wasn't high. Another mutual whose uncle is an immigrant and has people who are depending on him back in some country got COVID. He didn't want to tell his boss because he couldn't afford to take the day off. Can you blame him when the country has created a system in which labor from the most vulnerable is exploited? He didn't have any sick pay, health insurance, nor help from the government. At a certain point, he knew that he had to go to the hospital, but he contemplated on going because he knew he couldn't afford it. I wanted to learn more about the experiences of the Latino and undocumented community throughout the pandemic. We'll always see negative headlines addressing the undocumented community, but rarely do you see ones addressing the contributions we make to this country. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the maps that I worked on ArcGIS. This first map broadly showcases the sum of positive cases, deaths, and the number of hospitals throughout California. LA County was the hotspot, as you could tell. It is the redder it gets, it's the one with the most cases. It was a hotspot, and even though it has the most hospitals, which are over 100 hospitals, they were still overflowing with patients during the pandemic. By clicking on a county, you will find the shape area, the length, total population of 2020, and the overall confirmed deaths, cases, and also per 10,000. All right, there's some of the data right here. This second map focuses on LA County, which has the most cities with the largest Latino population, 6 to be exact. This map shows the demographics and poverty in the country by city. By clicking on a city, you will find the poverty status by city and the demographics, which also includes populations for comparisons. In this map, you will see that it says Hispanics instead of Latinos. Some servers use Latino or Hispanic as our identity for both race and ethnicity. For this one uses Hispanic. As seen below, people who earn between $0 to $60,000 had the most deaths. A research paper prepared for the Latino Legislative Caucus by the California Senate Office of Research mentioned that the ACS from 2010 to 2014 5-year population estimates concluded that Latinos had a median household income of $47,200 compared with the median household income of $69,606 for non-Latinos. As you could tell, this chart right here also shows that a lot of Latinos do fall within the poverty line, and the most cases, both which were deaths and positive cases, were partially within the poverty line as well. Since we don't have the complete data on undocumented immigrants, I use the Latino data that is available because undocumented immigrants are not included in that data. I'm sorry, because undocumented immigrants are included in that data. The New York Times put out an article where they discussed the racial disparities of COVID-19 throughout the United States. It'd be no surprise to know that Latinos and African Americans have been 3 times as likely to become infected as their white neighbors. 1 in 10 workers in California is an undocumented immigrant. It is reported that more than 1 million workers are undocumented immigrants in California. 75% of farm workers in California are undocumented, and between 1/3 and 1/2 of farm workers in America are from California. Over 50% of workers in the meat packaging industry are undocumented. As someone who's part of this community and shares a similar story, these were the very same people who kept us from dying throughout the pandemic and put their lives in danger to make sure we had what was needed. This research is important because in order to build a better future, we have to acknowledge that Latinos and undocumented folks contribute towards making California the largest economy in the United States. We have to build a safe environment in order to get the data necessary from undocumented folks to capture their experiences and make changes. California runs on the exploitation of minorities and low-income individuals. Understanding the issues with the system and capturing the experiences of these individuals will help develop better policies and programs that address these issues. We have to protect the very same essential workers who kept everything running during the pandemic. We'll know that it's mostly undocumented immigrants who work these labor-intense jobs. Instead of looking away, let's acknowledge and let's make the changes that are needed. The American dream to a natural-born citizen in the US is to find a job where they can make 6 figures and have a lavish lifestyle. The American dream to an immigrant who left their country in search of a better life is to have a job where they could earn enough income to support their family and ensure that their kids receive a college education. Thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you, Ricardo, and great job. And I just want to state that both Stephanie, Lala, and Ricardo have worked really closely with me throughout this semester, and I hope to continue working with these partners, partly because of the quality work they have done this semester. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much for that impactful. I think we just ended on a very good note that could leave, just make us think about so much how big data can impact our communities. As we close this event out, I would like to turn it back over to my Dean Pamela Scott Johnson, for our closing remarks. But again, I thank you, and I'm so grateful to share space with you and your students and this innovative big data work. Thank you again, Dean.
Sure. So thank you everyone for the hard work that you've done. I can't be any prouder of what you've done, of what our team of supporters have done to support you, but what you've done, faculty and students. I want to acknowledge some of the folks who were in the audience that we didn't get a chance to call out. And I do acknowledge that all of the faculty acknowledge the partnership with the nonprofits, but in no particular order: the Wildwood Foundation, City Plants, LA Walks, Diverse Scholars, California Safe Schools, El Monte Promise Foundation, Slate Z, SoCal Coalition, Hospice for Individuals Experiencing Homelessness. If I left you out, please put that in the chat so we can acknowledge the work that you're doing. The other part of this project is to have an impact on the nonprofits. I appreciate Phyllis's talking about the data capacity that is gained by your being able to be in this project. So we appreciate that. We appreciate your partnership. And finally, we did have President Covino bring opening remarks. We had Provost Jose Institute's gala tonight, but we did want to his participation, as well as to let you know that he'll be here next week, which is really what I'm encouraging you to do. I see that next week we will have another round of these fabulous projects, impactful projects. I invite all of you to come back to support your colleagues, as faculty and as students, and to support this team. Again, this could not have been done without you and without the team that supports me. I'm forever grateful. Thank you so much. And I think that's good night, unless Dawn has other instructions for me.
I am done. I am so grateful to share space with you and your students and faculty about big data. Do come back next week to hear some more student presentations. And with that, I will bid you good night. Stay safe and be well, everybody. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Bravo.
Bye.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.